And we are live. See, I don't have WInny here. She typically does that countdown for me. And wouldn't you know it, WInny doesn't show up, just me. And I screwed up the countdown. And we all love the countdown and that familiar music that plays just before we go live. So, going to be a great show. Going to be a great show, even though WInny, who wasn't originally part of this program, I decided to have her on as my first guest. She came on. We had a lot of fun, just kind of chit-chatting in the beginning. And so now I miss her. Now I don't know how else to do it, but we're going to do it just me today with two great guests. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're out there, please get your fingers loosened up and your questions ready, because my first guest caught my attention. I think she's going to catch yours as well. Let's go ahead and invite Kelly Buchill onto the program. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here and giggling about the heavy Southern accent.
The heavy Southern accent. Did you expect more of a deep, manly voice that was?
No, I love it. It feels like home. My family's from Alabama. So.
Okay, all right. So at least I didn't throw you off too much. No. That's awesome. So I've got to talk a little bit about how I first kind of came in contact with you, because I think that'll help tell the story of what you're doing and what's to come, right? Okay. So I was on LinkedIn, and you had made a post, and Ryan Serhant had made a comment on that. So that's what had originally kind of said, well, let's see who this Kelly Buchill is. I ended up telling my cousin, her name's Jenny, and I said, do you know who Ryan Serhant? She didn't know who Ryan Serhant was. So I would like you first to tell us Ryan's story. Tell us who Ryan Serhant is.
Well, we're going to pretend Ryan's not watching this.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So he is one of the biggest brokers out of New York City. He, and I don't think he likes to be referred to this, but he kind of got his start in real estate in being on the show, Bravo show, $1 Million Listing. So many people, if they recognize him, it's from $1 Million Listing New York, where he was a broker with Frederick and all the other characters that were on that show. I know that's where I met him. And
that's what I was curious. So you kind of originally said, okay, this is Ryan Serhant. He's in real estate. He's doing it up in New York. He's on this show.
Right. So Ryan did $1 Million Listing, and then, he's always sold, right? That show obviously helped him and his business, and his business grew bigger and bigger. He was originally with Nest Seekers out of Manhattan. And he 3 years ago, actually almost exactly to the day, 3 years ago, opened his own brokerage. It was funny. It was in the middle of COVID, or like COVID had just hit. So it was kind of that, like, everybody was saying, you're nuts, don't do it, right? And he did it, and they have been working ever since, thriving. They're now the most followed real estate brokerage in the world as far as social media. They have offices they're obviously based out of New York City. That's their hub. But they have offices in the Hamptons, and recently opened an office in Miami.
Wow. Yeah. So
and other places, North Carolina, South Carolina. I shouldn't leave everybody out, but they are expanding. So
gotcha. Yeah. And so that's fantastic. It's such an incredible niche, I guess, because the way that he's doing it, using his fame and then using that social media and some of those other folks that he's connected with. I saw that, like, Gary V is part of his team. So you being part of, and we'll get into that, you are now, you're working under his brokerage, correct?
Correct. Which is insane and amazing. And I have to tell you, when you said that your cousin didn't know who he was, She didn't know who it was, or
Yeah,
you?
she didn't know who he was, but,
Okay.
but I've got to finish telling the story or she'll kill me. But go, yeah. So
Okay, so on that note, I had been talking with Serhant since April, right? And currently in Tampa, I was at the best brokerage, always number one, little boutique, family run. Like, I could not say anything negative about them. I loved them,
yeah.
right? Been around for 50 years. And they are everything in Tampa, right? So when I was weighing the options, I knew that there were going to be people down here in Tampa who didn't know Serhant, right? Who like, who's that?
Yeah.
And so I definitely, it was not an easy choice by any means, just because to leave something that is working, that you're comfortable with, right?
Yes.
To the unknown. But I will say that's definitely the pull of his brand and everything that he does, and forward thinking is exactly the opposite of what I left here, where they have been number one for the last 50 years. And why change anything if it's not broken, right? And so you go to the extreme opposite, where Ryan is just getting up and going, and killing it, and changing with the times.
Yeah, absolutely. Evolving. Now, do you find yourself in that same type of mindset? It sounds like you do. You're constantly evolving and trying.
Yeah. So, and to go back, I think we kind of got away from your original question, but you said, did I just know him from $1 Million Listing? And the answer is yes. But then through real estate, he has an incredible like sales training program, that anybody can join. And I did that. Gosh, it was last November, because there was a special Black Friday special, I remember, and I joined it. And then I was really able to get a feel for the community and the brokerage and the culture there and what they stand for and how they work. And that's really what sold me.
That recruited you, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I think so. So Jenny ended up watching some of his stuff, and I was telling her, this is how growth happens. People don't hear about someone, then they hear about someone, and regardless of the size of the following, it's always one person at a time.
Right.
But she became an instant fan watching some of his old content on $1 Million Listing, and she was like, "This is so weird," because it kept coming up. So I think that as even more and more, it's going to kind of snowball, because I think what's happening now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this exclusive properties, these luxury properties with his name, being able to broadcast that to a wider audience, where you have a little bit more of a, not everybody's going to be affording some of these homes or looking for that specific thing, right? Is that part of the strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like say we have an insane, like ultra luxury property down here in Tampa, our buyer pool is super limited to that here, right? Where as opening it up to the company, to Ryan's clients, because he still sells and he's still very active, to Ryan's clients, to all of my colleagues that I now have and have great relationships with already in the Hamptons, in Connecticut. It's really, I guess I would say, every real estate agency likes to say that they're global and they have contacts everywhere. And, and I guess to some degree that's true. But this is the first time I've ever actually felt that, because I am on the phone, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm emailing with the agents that are in the Hamptons, that are in Connecticut, that have the wealthy clients that, would be attracted to the unusual, like ultra luxury property that we have here.
Exactly. And now I also watched a lot on Tampa itself. So I watched a lot of videos and of attractions and things going on in Tampa. And there's so much going on in that area. I remember you told Ryan about someone that was moving from Boston. You got the deal from somebody that was in Boston. They were coming down, and so I thought that was kind of cool. What made them choose Tampa? Let's just talk about them as a kind of a case study.
Well, first of all, Holly, I think she probably gets tired of me telling the story. But
Okay.
I love you. It's an incredible story, because especially us in the business, you hear do social, do social, do social, and it's like, right?
Yeah.
Well, you might get the occasional first-time home buyer or whatever, but when somebody comes to you from Boston and says, "I need to move to Tampa and my budget's $3 to $4 million," then everybody's listening, right?
Yeah.
Goodness. So I forgot the question that you asked. Just
I was just curious to kind of take someone. Here she is. She's living in Boston, Mass, and she decides to move to Tampa, Florida. Maybe her, maybe just in general patterns that you're seeing. Why are people moving to Tampa?
Okay, so her situation was her husband got transferred. He got a job promotion, and his job was down here in Tampa.
Gotcha.
And she was a lifelong, like I am here in South Tampa, she's like lifelong Boston, right? So it was a huge deal for her. So I was actually honored that I could be the one to help her through that, because it was such a change, a change that she wasn't even necessarily excited about,
Yeah.
But I feel, obviously during COVID, we had everybody coming because we were much more open. COVID didn't really happen in Florida.
Yeah.
And
Rod smiling backstage. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
But so and they come down here for the weather, of course, for the tax breaks. A lot of people from up north, New York in particular, come down because our taxes, they have the extra taxes,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I was just reading a message.
I'm sorry. I was some of the comments here.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I think Ramita just said we don't recruit agents, which is true.
We don't recruit, we attract. Well, that's good. Yeah, better to attract than to chase. Right?
Yes.
You got to save that energy.
Yep. And Ramita, the one that just wrote that comment, had a huge role in me actually making the decision to come to Serhant. She is actually, oh God, I hope I get this right. She's going to kill me. She's in North Carolina. She is the one and only agent in her area, which I think is Raleigh, but oh my God, text me, Ramita, because I don't know. But North Carolina, and she, just like picked me up and just was like, I think you're the perfect fit and you really need to do this, let's be clear, there is no recruiting. It's not like there's bonuses for bringing people or whatever. Like she genuinely was just helpful. And that was also a very good indicator of like what I was getting into,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's interesting that there's, there was some consternation. There was some thought process that went into your decision about whether or not to do this.
Right.
Because you've lived in Tampa your entire life. You've been doing real estate for quite some time. Mm-hmm. What is it about real estate that originally attracted you to it, Kelly?
So if I'm being completely honest, I fell into it.
Yeah.
My career before this was TV news. And that was so much fun when I was young and single and not a mom, right?
Yeah.
But then I had babies, and all of a sudden getting up at 3:00 in the morning, chasing fires and stuff was not really cool.
Yeah.
I hung in there for a while. But
chasing fires, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, what I was doing was at the time, and to this day, it's just a little tidbit. I cannot drive on the interstate without being like a super paranoid, crazy person, because my job from 6 to 8 o'clock was to direct the helicopter over all the crashes in town. So I literally sat there for 2 hours a day watching traffic accidents.
Wow. Yeah.
So
you were up in the chopper.
No, I wasn't in it. Okay. I was safe in my desk, directing them and telling them where to go.
You were help navigating the chopper. I'm just trying to visualize it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, when I got out of news, they actually ended up doing away with my position. And I was like, maybe this is a sign. It's time to do something different. My dad was like, why don't you try real estate? And I was like, I don't know what I knew nothing about it. But I got my license, and I honestly, it just took off. Like, it was almost like it was natural to me.
Yeah.
And, being born and raised here is a huge help. right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's literally
You're the expert, right? I mean,
right, right. And then of course the freedom of leaving like a corporate job, where, well, I would say, it's corporate in the sense that it's owned by corporate, but very unconventional in the fact that it was I don't know if you know anything about it, but news is a super negative, toxic environment to work in.
yeah,
So
I can believe that.
yeah, to not have that and to have full control of my life and what I do and how much money I can make and when I work and when I don't. It was just a game changer that I didn't know I needed, but I probably should have done it all along. Like
Yeah,
I was just not born to have a boss.
right, right. So you like being able to have that flexibility, the freedom.
Yeah.
You have good people skills.
Right.
What else does it take to be a good real estate agent?
Well, I mean, you have to work, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people I would think 90% of agents sit around and wait for their phone to ring or wait for their friend to refer a buyer or something,
Yeah.
And I'm very disciplined. I don't know. I guess it came from my mom, but I've always been like, get up at 4:00 in the morning, go to the gym at 5. I very much thrive on a routine. And I think you have to have that personality, you know what I mean? Where you
Yeah.
are. And plus, I'll tell you a secret.
Yeah.
How do I say this without using a bad word?
Go ahead and use a bad word if need be. I mean,
Not giving a
damn.
damn
See? Leave it to the Southern boy to come up with a good word.
goes a really long way in this business, right? Because there is a lot of rejection. There is a lot of
God, I can imagine.
judgment and competition and managers looking at you like, why are you doing that? And, but at the end of the day, you have to be like, tune out all the noise. I always tell people, I put blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not focus on anything else that anybody around me is doing because you'll drive yourself crazy. So you have to have that mentality. You have to have the determination. I think the drive of me, never having a boss again is really what,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to go back to the newsroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great though. And I guess if you're facing rejection because you're maybe doing outbound calls, you're looking for new clients. If you're sticking your neck out there, you're going to get it chopped off occasionally, right?
Right. And so I'm not big on cold calls or whatever. I definitely do it, but I will text or I will email or I will send a video text message, just try to relate to people more.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that goes back to not caring, because say the reason that I'm doing it is if I have a buyer that I know needs a house in Sunset Park and they can spend $800,000, I'm going to do my research using all the public records and everything available to me to find somebody who I think is likely to want to sell. And I'm going to make those phone calls. That's part of my job as the buyer's agent. It's not just looking for listings and I think that's a big misconception, is that a lot of times, especially in a low inventory market like this, we should be, I am actively searching and calling homeowners and trying to match buyers with homes.
Yes. I like that. There's always something to do. People are always coming and going regardless, right?
Right. Right.
Just like your friend from Boston. And I've got to mention my friend Eric Ryan. He said Brady moved from Boston to Tampa. So
I think that was a huge, huge thing for Tampa too. That brought so much spotlight to our city. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it does seem like just such a cool city. We kind of got off track there when we were talking about all of the cool things in Tampa. But it's no secret that's a red hot market, right? I mean, you're close to Orlando. You've got 5 beaches, correct? You stop me when I'm wrong.
No.
But a lot of cool stuff. You got all the sports teams.
Right. So I like to tell people that it's we are just now getting to the point where we feel like a little city, right? Because
Yeah.
before it was like, it's so funny. I remember somebody saying to me who was from New York, she's like, I miss the city. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're in a city, right?
Yes.
And this was not considered a city to somebody who is actually from a city, right? We're slowly but surely getting there. And it's just really cool. And I feel like I forgot the question again. I get so excited talking about.
It's okay.
I like to tell people that we are just now getting to the point where we feel like a city, but we haven't lost the hometown feel, if you know what I mean. Like we still feel like a neighborhood. And it's weird. It's hard to explain down here. It doesn't feel like it's city and suburbs, really, I guess. At least not in South Tampa, where I'm from. It's kind of just all blends, right? With the hub of it being downtown and like the Channel Side area, which is just now being more and more developed. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, you did not go downtown, right? Like if you did, you went Monday through Friday to work and you left and that was it. Now we have.
Why didn't you go when you were younger? Why didn't you go?
There was nothing down there.
I got you.
There was nothing down there except offices, right? So then it was dead on the weekend. And so Jeff Finnick, who owns the Lightning, did a huge development and invested in Water Street. And his partner in that was, I don't want to misspeak with all the details, but Bill Gates was somehow related I think he was an investor in that Water Street project. So again, just bringing, national attention to Tampa. And that's really since Bill Gates and Jeff Vinnick and Tom Brady have kind of been involved in Tampa, it's just blown up.
Now, where's Mar-a-Lago located?
Nowhere near me.
Oh, is it not?
No, it is in, I want to say like Boca, Fort Lauderdale.
I got
it's
you.
on the other coast of Florida.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
See there?
Why? What did you want to talk about?
Oh, well, I saw that you had made a post about Mar-a-Lago and I didn't get time. And I was like, is that in? So I didn't get
like, has she been there? No, the post was about how, not political at all. So nobody go there.
No, don't get angry.
Yeah, I'm like, don't do it.
Mine's already getting mad.
But the post was about, and gosh, I don't remember the details, but something had just happened in one of his cases where the appraisal had come in, or they were appraising the Mar-a-Lago property like $18 million, which is freaking insane. Okay, that thing's probably worth $100 million. Like,
yeah.
Right. So the post
hard to find a comp on that, huh?
And that's what the post was on LinkedIn, was when you have these rare properties, like how do appraisers do it?
Exactly. And that, I mean, that's a unique property.
Right.
I mean, and so another question, something that went through my mind, I'm sure you've worked with a lot of different economic classes, let's say, and have you found any patterns? The more money that people make, are they more demanding? Are they nicer?
No,
or
the opposite?
Yeah. So tell us what you find in that.
So without sounding like just stating facts, right? Like the first time home buyers need hand-holding, right? Understandably so. They need to know every single detail. They need guidance. They need everything, right? And then the higher end, they've done this before, right? They have attorneys, which is not fun, but they have attorneys that will help them.
Talk to my attorney. I want to say that one day. Talk to my attorney.
Yeah, right? My attorney will call you. I'm like, can you just sign the paper?
That's right.
So it's almost like the more money people have, I don't know if it's right to say the less they care or the less stressed they are.
More laid back.
Yeah.
Laid back and
it probably comes with experience, because you know, they're obviously not buying their first house. This isn't their first time, so.
Right. And so the lady that was from Boston, and she randomly, I mean, she's making this big move. Her husband got this job. They probably thought about it a little bit, right? And
yes, a lot of it.
We're going to move, and I'm going to find a real estate agent.
Right.
off of Instagram. What? Why? I mean,
I
we
don't
love
think
you, Kelly, but why did she do this?
I don't think it happens like that. I don't think it happened like that. I think that I remember exactly because I remember exactly. Like I woke up at 4:00 in the morning. I was getting ready for the gym. I had a DM, so I'm checking my Instagram, and she's like, she had responded to one of my stories, and she's like, "Hey, and my family and I are moving to Tampa in this summer, and we need a place." Blah blah blah. So the first thing I always do is say, "Oh my God, great. Let's jump on a FaceTime call because I want to see you and I want to know who I'm dealing with and know how much time I'm going to invest in this, if this is real or not," right? You're coming to me from Instagram. So I did that. I got on a FaceTime call with her. Oh my God. She was like a long lost sister. Like we clicked like I don't know what. And
that's beautiful.
What's that?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And it actually really was, because she was going through a rough time with this move.
Right.
You know, I could tell she really didn't want to. Her kids didn't want to. She has 3 kids and they were not on board.
Yes.
And so anyway, I think how it happened was they had been down to Tampa looking before.
Mm-hmm.
And then what she said to me on the FaceTime was, you know how creepy our phones are. Anytime I'm like searching, I have been looking for properties on Google and you keep popping up on my Instagram.
Yeah.
So
it's a sign. Right. I love it.
It's working. But I will tell you too, I am working with a new branding and marketing agency, and we are diving deep into exactly how that happened and how we can obviously make it keep happening.
Well, I love the rinse and repeats, right? Yeah. Like, so how can we find that avatar of a buyer? And what was it about this particular dynamic? I mean, that could be a great rinse and repeat. The husband gets relocated to the Tampa area. Tampa, how to kind of maybe relate to the wife and kind of, that sounds like a great
commiserate with being annoyed with your husband.
Yes. Yeah. But you can kind of elbow her and y'all can be like, yeah, we know how it is. We know how it is. But
and that's exactly how it happens too, because then she can trust me. She knows I have kids, her kids' age. She know, you know what I mean? So not only am I just helping her look for a house, but then of course, like many other realtors end up being, I'm helping her look for schools and I'm emailing my kid's school for her. And it's just kind of like, all of a sudden she has a partner in this.
Yeah, I get that from you because you actually care.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're just not in it for the commission check.
I actually do. And I don't work with people that I don't, I had somebody, I guess about 2 weeks ago who I had been working with for, since January. And I was driving down the street and I see him at a house with another agent looking at another, and I was like,
that hurt your heart.
So listen. Okay. So me, I'm texting him. I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. Did I miss a request to show you this house? And anyway, but my point in telling you that is that, well, I would have loved to help him find the house. And obviously I was invested because I had been doing it since January. I was not so sad to see them go, right? Yeah. So you have to work with clients that respect you, right? I could have tried to be like, wait, let's do this. Give me another, but I'm like, oh no. Like if that's how you are going to act, you've just showed your true colors and we're going to move on.
That's right. Yeah. Cut your losses. You found out who you're dealing with. And I think that's great. We're going to pull up Mandy's comment and see if we can help her some here. It says, this is so refreshing to hear. Pumps me up. I like that. Yeah. I just left my 25-year corporate career to start my career in real estate, finishing school through the holidays and going to end strong for 2024. I'm so ready to help people find the home of their dreams, building a business around a family of clients for a lifetime. Well, she sounds excited. What advice would a well-seasoned real estate agent like yourself.
Did you forget?
No. That was that power of the pause.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget, we have to talk about the good news sandwich. Don't let me forget.
The good news sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to talk about. And we've got Brian. Here's what I want to do. Have you ever had a podcast before?
Wait, we have to talk about Mandy because it just pulled at my heartstrings.
Okay, yeah.
Can we do that really quick?
Yeah, I've got all these things that we've got to talk about.
Okay, I know. But I just need to say to Mandy, this is like, I want to scream it from the mountains because this was me. I was in obviously a corporate job that I was miserable at. All I wanted to do was leave and be able to somehow work. I mean, I was thinking about swimming lessons, right? Like I needed something to get me out. I felt so stuck. And I want you to know, Mandy, that, I mean, if you want to do it, you can. Like if you want, it takes a while. It takes a lot of hard work. It really honestly took me about 5 years to get my business very established, but you can totally do it. And don't ever think you're stuck because you're not.
I love it. I love that. And I'm glad that Mandy joined this little
Me
situation.
too.
Yeah, you know.
Mandy, send me a message on LinkedIn if you.
Yes.
If
what
you
a great role model, and I love energy. Sounds like Mandy's ready to go.
I know, and that's what she needs. So that'll be great.
You got to be around these people that are raring to go. Now, I've got another question for you before we play podcast. You're gonna play the role of Jenny Winny.
Okay.
But what I wanted to ask you about is this. Eating alone. You said a strong woman is not afraid to eat alone. And I said, now I wonder, I believe that she's a strong person. Now, do you go out to eat and eat by yourself?
Yeah. People don't do that?
Well, I do, but I'm me.
I don't know if it comes from when I lived in New York alone.
Yeah.
My first job out of college was in Georgia. So, but also it goes back to that not giving a damn. Like if I want a salad, actually, when we're done here, I'm going to go get a salad at my favorite restaurant. Like it doesn't even cross my mind that people want to eat alone.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy eating alone.
I would love to know who eats alone. How many people?
Yep. I would say not many, because we would say
do a poll. Somehow do a poll.
We're gonna get to know some Brian Gallagher, and we're gonna ask him if he eats alone. And let's look at here first. Mandy says, "Oh my God, you both are amazing." This is the reason I bring these sorts of things up, so we can hear the validation and we can feel better about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that made me tear up. Thank you so much. I'll message you, Kelly. That's awesome.
Yes.
I'm glad that worked out. So what we're going to do, we are going to invite our second guest in. Kelly's going to have some questions. Brian may have some questions for Kelly. We're going to have this big conversation with three people together. We're going to meet someone that I just messaged this morning. I do not know this person, but we're going to get to know him. Here he comes, Brian Gallagher. Good morning.
All right. How's it going?
Also known as George Clooney.
That's right.
Well, I was flipping through LinkedIn and I was like, the average dude. Okay, he's got some cool hair. Let me click on his video. I'm like, I also noted the Southern accent, and I was like, the average dude. And I call myself the simple man. I was like, I feel like we should meet. I feel like we should definitely meet.
The simple man. Now, is that the Leonard Skinner simple man?
No, it's not. I didn't know that until after I started. I called my website and my business, I guess, is called Simple Man God. And I didn't know that was a Leonard Skinner song when I did this like 7 years ago. I should have known that, but I didn't.
You should have known that, man.
Two things. Where are you from that you don't know Leonard Skinner?
Yeah.
Okay. Not from the South. I feel I'm the only one from the. No, you're from Boston, right? That's fair. I'm from the U.S. I'm from the U.S. I grew up in Philadelphia. I now live in Amsterdam. And then, what was your second question? You said you had two.
Oh, what do you do that your business is called Simple Man?
It started off in health and wellness, but now I was loving these comments. I actually got into helping people leave their corporate job and start their own one-person business. So something that's more related to what their skills and interests are. And I've been doing that for the last 2 years.
Nice.
Isn't that amazing? So I wasn't. We weren't planning on having two guests. Brian reached out. We shared a couple of messages, and I just had, have y'all ever had just that instinct, that gut, and says, you know what, we need to do this. Yeah. I just had it right away when I saw Brian. We went back and forth. Sometimes you follow your intuition, and here we are.
Love it.
Connection,
I love it.
Kelly was in corporate. Now she's not. Kelly, you have something to say. Go.
Yeah. I always have something to say. This is pretty funny. I'm between the average dude and the simple man.
I know, right? Quite a show here.
No, what I was going to say is when you said what you do for a living, it automatically Gary V comes to my mind.
Okay.
You know him?
Of course.
Oh my
him
God.
I know.
Simple man.
I do. I heard you say, average dude, Daniel, I heard you say that you didn't know who, or somebody that in your network didn't know who Ryan Serhant was. I have a funny story for someone that I didn't know who it was, and I'll get to it after Kelly asks her question. I think you'll find it pretty funny.
Bring up Gary V, and I think that him in particular, but people like him and listening to podcasts that can change the world, right? Yeah. Because we are all so programmed to think, and this is the mom coming out in me, to think that it has to be school and college and corporate, and you know what I mean? And Gary just smashes that, right? Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. I do too. Brian, how did you get into doing what you're doing? Tell us your story.
Yeah, sure. So I worked in corporate. I took that same exact path you just mentioned, literally my path. And so I was working in New York City at the time. I ended up opening up a fitness studio with a buddy of mine after I left my corporate job. I was fired from my corporate job. So I started creating a bunch of fitness content after we closed our fitness studio. I'm getting to how I'm coming into coaching. So I basically retired for a couple of years after we closed the fitness studio. My only goal in life was to travel around the world and work out outside in really cool places. So I did that for a couple of years. I started sharing content about that, and people started asking me more about my lifestyle, about what I do for work and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I can kind of help people figure out what I just did and help them along the same path. So once I started saying that on Instagram, like, hey, is anybody interested in this? I had 2 people right away. They were like, yeah, get me out of here. And that was it. That was about 2 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
What's the most rewarding thing about seeing someone that you've worked with get out of a situation and then into something better? Have you seen that? Have you experienced that, Brian?
Yeah. I mean, getting the biggest thing is seeing the direct impact you can have on one person's life. Now, I worked in investment banking when I was in New York City, and I feel like it was just making a bunch of rich guys richer by helping them sell their businesses, and it doesn't really affect their life much. But if you have someone, and I kind of sympathize with this because I was in a job that I didn't enjoy. I woke up every day spending 12 to 15 hours a day around something that I didn't enjoy. And then once you find something that you like, it's like everything in your life changes. Everything in your world changes. So being able to see that transformation happen in people when they're at a point where they think, okay, this is life. I just do this for the next 30 years and then I'm free. It's like, no, that's you don't have to do it that way. There are other options, and I want to help you figure out what those are. So being able to impact a person's path by working with them has been the most rewarding thing.
Let me ask you this, and Kelly, I want you to get your thoughts on it too. Are you more people focused or results focused? Is it more about the result or about the person in general?
I would say it's more about the result, because I feel like there's certain things that people get stuck on, and I want to help them get through that. Like a lot of the fear, I believe, that people face when they have this decision in front of them, like, do I want to leave my corporate job or I want to just stay put? It's pretty comfortable, is figuring out what they can do for work. And I feel like many of us have something in us that we can help other people do. We can either teach them, we can do it for them. And it doesn't have to be under someone else's kind of control, right? It can be under our control, because frankly, after working in corporate for 10, 11 years, I just got sick of people telling me what to do. I just hated it. I was like, Kelly, when I heard you say, I don't want a boss, I'm like, yeah, I got tired of it. I was like, man, I felt like a little kid having to ask if I could go on vacation. And I was like, no way. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I found a way out.
So Kelly, you've got something to ask.
Sorry. I was just going to say, as much negativity that we hear about social media these days, I think it's stories like yours and mine that like social media is so incredible, because you know what, if we're not sharing these stories, how many people might listen to this today and think, oh wait, maybe I'm not stuck, right? Like,
Yeah.
had I not had Gary Vee, like I would not have thought, oh my God, it's acceptable to leave a job. I think that social media has made it so incredible and so easy for us to talk. And the more it's like, when it's like, I don't even know how to explain. I get so passionate about this topic because like, if people don't like marriages, okay, for instance, everybody has issues in their marriage, right? But nobody talks about it. So everybody thinks everybody else's marriage is fine. And really everybody's shit, right? But like, if we just really all talked about it, like we could all help each other.
Yeah.
I love that, Kelly. I mean, because I always feel better when people, especially successful people, tell me the honest truth about what.
Yeah, everyone's struggling with something, right?
It's not rainbows and butterflies here.
Nothing.
I mean, life it's a struggle, and that's what makes it rewarding when good things happen. So, but to kind of Pollyanna everything and like it doesn't strike as real. Like, tell me what your weaknesses are. What's the tough part of doing this? I think that really kind of helps balance it out.
I don't think people realize by doing that, you're like really servicing others, right? By sharing your struggles, like keeping it all inside and pretending like everything's fine. Like, who the hell is that helping? It's not helping you.
Nobody. It doesn't help you. Yeah.
Right. And it's not helping anybody. So
what's interesting, it's something that I've kind of thought about before is, who am I? I'm the average dude. Who am I going to help? How am I going to be able to help? And somebody was explaining to me, really, wherever you were to wherever you've gotten to now, that all those people that aren't to where you are now.
That aren't to where you are.
I need to help these people get to where I'm at. I mean, they would be happy with that because progress is good. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a $10 million or a $12 million house or $40. You keep chasing it. It's the progress that feels good. It's the growth, right? I don't know. I kind of brought money into that, but what do you think?
No, that makes total sense. Because you only have to be a step or two ahead of the person you want to help. You don't have to be the ultimate expert in whatever it is. You just have to have done and experienced what someone else has not done or experienced yet. And if they want to do it, you can help them. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be depending on what it is. You don't have to be certified to like go and do all this stuff. It's like you've experienced it. You've lived it. You came through the other side. There are plenty of people who are 2 steps behind you who could use your help.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to Kelly working with different personalities. There's some people that are going to click. They're going to respond to our energy. That they're going to enjoy being around us. The trust gets built fast. And then there's other ones that are going to go find another agent to show them a property, and you're going to have to sit, but I guess my point being is we all have certain people that are attracted to us that click with us and that motivate us. Brian, I guess part of your deal is motivating people, and you too, Kelly, motivating people to do things. And what is it maybe that you have seen, Kelly, from real estate buying, things that are holding folks back from making decisions that maybe are good for them? So we're kind of encouraging them to do the right thing. Brian, you too. Anything come to mind?
I'm sure him and I have this same exact one word on our tongue.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Did you do it?
That's it.
It is.
What is it? I missed it.
Fear.
Oh, yeah. Fear. Yeah. Fear.
Yeah. Of the unknown, of doing something different, of spending money, anything.
Leaving something comfortable, even if it's not that pleasant. I mean, the idea of a paycheck is comfortable, even though what you have to do to get it may not be. Going into something where you don't know what the outcome is going to be is terrifying for people. Is literally terrifying.
It is. But you know what? No, what I'm thinking is, what I like to do is, how when you're younger and you said, "Oh, there's a monster under my bed," you're right, and then mom and dad would come in, they look under there. Oh no, there's nothing under there. In our heads, it was built up. I think that talking about the worst case scenario, let's say I'm giving a speech and I'm scared to death. Well, what might happen? Well, I might fall on the way up there. I might forget all the words. All these things. And then what happens? Kind of dig into that fear. Well, then people are going to think that I'm a fool, that I'm unprepared. And then what's going to happen?
And then what?
Yeah. And it's like layers. And at the end we see there's nothing under the bed. It's all in our head. I mean, even if the last or worst thing happens, we're still here, right?
And rarely does it ever play out as terribly as your mind can make it out to be. I mean, your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And the good news is that we have the choice, right? We're always going to be afraid to do something new, to do something unknown. And that fear is never going to go away. You just have to look at it, know it's there, and act despite it. It never completely goes away. I mean, I feel like even people that are experts in their field, or like, I always picture like a guy. I was a baseball player when I was younger. I always picture like a guy going up to the plate, bottom of the ninth, runners on, they're down by a run. He's probably got a little bit of fear in him, but you just have to go and kind of just do the action, do the thing, right?
He loves the adrenaline rush, right? I mean, once you get used to being uncomfortable, for me, I love getting the heart rate. I love doing things like this because there's a little extra energy. There's that. So how about this for energy? Have y'all ever jumped out of an airplane before?
I have. Yeah.
Oh,
I knew Brian had done it. Come on,
nice.
Kelly. Us three. We're gonna do it next
I'm
year.
in, man.
I was literally watching a TV show last night with my husband, and there was a scene of them, and I was like, "Why the hell would you do that?"
It's pretty fun.
Oh gosh, yeah, I did it for the first time, but I have a fear of heights, and I went and did it by myself because everybody, Daniel's never gonna jump out of an airplane, and I'm like, okay, we're going to show you.
I'll show you.
And I got on the computer. I was right there at the end getting ready to actually put in my credit card. Went down to get a cup of coffee downstairs, and the guy had, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, he had on the T-shirt, speaking of these things happening, he had on a T-shirt from this same place where I went and jumped. That's a sign.
Sign. Got to do it.
Got to do it. Went back up, signed up. Next morning, I was jumping out of an airplane. Let's see what Mandy says. That was me. I have to share. Long story short, I have been in the corporate role for the last 25 years. The last few years, I've been trying to find the right company. When all along, it wasn't the company; it was my career. My last company was beyond toxic, but at the same time, it gave me the boost that I needed to get out of corporate, pick real estate back up, and start my career for it. I always read stories of people doing this. Stop doing something they were doing for so long and never happy, and then took the leap of faith. So yeah, I think that's one of the core messages for today that really speaks to both of y'all's stories there. So let's see. I struggle with what to do with all my money and success.
Okay, Eric.
Wow. Okay.
I have an idea. Buy a house in Tampa.
Yeah, there you go. Now, listen, I want both of y'all, if Kelly, if you get a deal out of this, let's say you sell a $2 million home from Jenny Winning the Average Dude podcast, that would be awesome. That would be a huge win, wouldn't it?
Yeah, where are you, Dallas?
No, I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want to go down to Tampa and tour some $1 million homes. Actually.
Okay, come on.
I'm going to do an Average Dude field trip. See, I do those. And
do that for real.
Yeah, I really do. I was going to ask you. I was going to have my cousin here to kind of give me some, moral support for that ask. But
that's an easy ask.
Yeah, that's an easy.
What I do all day, every day is show houses.
Now, Brian, when's the last time you bought a house? You seem like you like the flexibility. You like the freedom. Is that right?
I've never bought a house.
Never bought a house.
I'm a lifetime renter because I like to move around.
Yeah. Well, you started doing this working out in unique places, and so of course that got me curious. Where did you go to work out?
Oh man, a bunch of places: New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Croatia, Italy, Ecuador, like a bunch of different places. After I moved out of New York.
You are the traveling simple man.
All over the place.
I can't believe the Simple Man has never heard of the Simple Man song.
I have now. I have now. When I first had it, someone was like, "That's a song, you know," and I'm like, "I like some Leonard Skinner tunes." It was like, I didn't know that one, and then I listened to it. I was like, "Okay, I like it."
Where's your favorite place to travel? You've been to a lot of places. Sounds like
I have a bunch. I would say my top 3, and I just booked an ultra marathon here for April, Cape Town, South Africa. I'm going to go and do the Two Oceans ultra marathon.
Are you a David Goggins fan?
Yes.
Good question.
I'm a fan to some extent. I like if I need a kick in the ass, I'll put on his audiobook and go for a run. Yeah. Some of his stuff's a little too. I kind of scoff at him, like, okay, dude, like, but a lot of it's like motivating and gets me moving for sure.
Yeah. Well, he's obsessed, and Kelly, you've been around a lot of successful business people, and a lot of times he's obsessed about fitness. Some people might be obsessed about money or whatever they're into, but these folks that are doing some like really outlier things, they're obsessed.
They're obsessed. You have to be.
Yeah,
you have to be.
So that's so intriguing to me, though, and going back to the whole, thank God they share it, right? Because we all can pick up something from that.
Yeah. You don't have to follow his story or do what he says 100%, but if it makes me get off the couch and go for a run, I'm happy, and I'm glad he wrote what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let me ask both of y'all this: when you compare yourselves to others, because we do that, right?
Sure.
When you compare yourself to other folks, does that, when you see a real estate agent that's killing it, Kelly, in the Tampa area, how do you deal with that?
So this might sound like hokey.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I tell myself that my time's coming, right? I remember that there's enough for everybody, and that it's going to come. I remember at our sales meeting, we had a weekly sales meeting, and we all sat around in this circle, like 50 agents, right? And we would all talk about what we had coming up as listings, and we would talk about buyers we were working with. And this is in the beginning of my career, and I would be like, nothing, thanks, like pass, right? And I would leave there thinking, okay, I can either be really depressed by this, or I can be happy for them, be like, wow, that's really great. Curious as to how it's happening for you, but trusting that my time's coming.
Kelly's like, how's this idiot selling houses?
Right. And if you're having these clients, I'm going to have them too.
That's right. There's plenty of success to go around. I think Grant Cardone is who I heard say that the first time. And I thought, he's right. We always think, if they're successful, I can't be.
Right.
But it's a subjective thing anyway.
Yeah.
Brian, you've probably done a lot of deep thinking and contemplating on what this whole life thing is about. Tell us what some of the deep revelations you've come to.
Wow, that's a really tough question right off the bat. So that's a really tough one. On the comparison note, if you can kind of block out, I know it's difficult now because in the social media world we live in, which we talked about, Kelly, has pluses and minuses. If you can block yourself out from the comparison game, it really can save you a lot of heartache as long as you can if you can stay focused on what it is you want. I think me definitely got caught up in thinking that I wanted what everyone else wanted. And when I finally was able to kind of get the things that I wanted, I'm like, these aren't really what I want. I don't really care about that. Like, for instance, when I was 22 years old and just starting my career, I'm like, okay, I'm going to work this job even though I don't like it. I just want a big house. And then when I was like, I can go buy a house now. I'm like, I don't really want a big house. I don't want a house at all. Yeah. So it's like really figuring out what you want and keeping your eyes off of everyone else. It's almost like we should be wearing the horse blinders. Figure out what you value.
Amen.
Figure out what you value. Take the steps you need. And this is also kind of the comparison game too. It's like when you see other people that have had success, it's like, look, stay in your lane. You're running your own race. Take the small steps that you need to get where you want and forget about them. We don't know how many years they've been doing this. We don't know what their goals are. We don't know a lot of stuff about people. So being able to stay focused on what you want and then pursuing that at all costs and not caring what other people think. I mean, it's so difficult to do. It's so simple to say, but so difficult to do.
It is because we find our place in the world by comparing ourselves to others.
Of course.
But there's, we're no longer, trying to feed everybody in the camp by going out. I mean, things have changed, right?
Sure.
When we were programmed with this. So it's interesting to kind of work all of that out and like you say, not lose energy over something that's kind of illogical, because these people don't impact us, yet we may lose energy and positive mindset because of what someone else is doing. That's a tough thing.
For sure.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Do you think, Brian, that people are like born one way or the other? Do you think people are born like us, where we can just be the go-getter and, make stuff happen? Or do you think we're all kind of the same and you can be coached?
I think certain people are born a certain way. Like, for instance, like go-getters. I think some people inherently have that in them. I don't think it's impossible for other people to get that or something else, right? I think we all come kind of in this in a clean slate. And we learn a lot of things over the years that we either have to unlearn or move in a different direction. But I think the majority of things can be coached and you can do if you want, within reason. So I say within reason because it's like, do I want to be like an Olympic swimmer at my height and build? No, it's not gonna. I can practice all the time in the world. Not going to happen.
Right.
There are certain things that you might be predispositioned for, but I think the majority of things, like mentally, I think you can achieve or get if you take the proper steps and pick up the proper mindset. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Should people be working out every day, Brian?
Depends. I mean, I when I'm in my like kind of hot streaks with training, I will go every day. I think it's totally fine. You can kind of listen to your body and see what you think you need. If I like a rest day for me might be a soft, easy 5-mile run, but for somebody else, they're like, you ran 5 miles on a rest day, you're insane. Well, it's not insane for me. Listening to your body and where you are physically and what you want to achieve, that kind of helps decide that. Now, if you're just starting out, am I going to suggest that someone goes from zero minutes exercising to 30 minutes every day, 7 days a week? No. Depends on where you are in your kind of journey and what you're training for.
Brian, let me ask you this. So if someone wanted to reach out to you and have like an introductory call, tell them what they could expect and what you kind of expect on those calls. What sorts of conversations do you have with folks?
Sure. I really want to know two things. What are they struggling with right now? Like, for instance, if they're in a corporate job that they hate and they want to get out, what's preventing them from doing it right now? What's the sticking point for them? And then what is the end goal, and what is the end goal they want to achieve? And from that, I can determine whether or not we are a fit to work together. Now, there's some people that will say certain things that I'm not the best person to help them do. And I'll tell them that on the phone call. Like, look, you want to do, I had a guy a couple of weeks ago, he wanted to create like a tech startup. And I'm like, look, man, I love to help you, but this is not really in my wheelhouse. Now, if he came to me and wanted to start like a one-person business, I'm happy to help him, and it's something I've done and I can help him do. So really figuring out their biggest sticking point and what they want to do, and then determining if I can help them get there.
Do you have an avatar, a customer avatar, like a rinse and repeat? It's like, hey, this person that's struggling with this, for whatever reason, we click, I can help them, we're a great fit. Do you have that kind of avatar?
Yeah. I do, but it's funny. I have that, and I talk to that person directly on LinkedIn. But people outside of that sphere also contact me too. Like, I always thought my target audience would be males 28 to 35 who didn't want to live in a big city, who wanted to travel, who had a interest in fitness, like me at my early 30s when I left. So it's like I'm talking directly to me because I know what thoughts were going through my head. I know what I wanted, but I end up getting a bunch of people. Like, I've had a client that's over 50. I've had a client that's as young as 25. I've had clients that were single, married, with kids, not in the United States. Like, it actually varies, but I feel like it's easier to attract those people when you are talking to one person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I try to say like, hey, you don't like your job, and I leave no other context, like, it doesn't really resonate with anyone.
No,
like, if you can say something, you can say something super specific, you'll attract the people that are in that same situation, and you also attract people that are slightly outside that situation.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And some people don't know what they want. It's a timing thing, right? They don't know hey, I'm just doing what everybody else is doing. For speaking of my own personal situation, it was after a divorce, not sure where the heck my life was going to go, that I started this personal development journey, right? And started doing the Toastmasters and the communication stuff. So it was kind of a late in the game, right? And it's the folks that are aging, 40. I used to think 40 was like time to land the plane.
So did I. I was like, man, I thought the same, man.
Be 40 years old. I'm sure there's doctors that are amazed somewhere that I don't know, but this has been a ton of fun.
Wait, Daniel.
Yes.
We have one more question.
We must talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about.
Does Ryan eat alone?
Oh, yes.
Wait
a minute. Take a wager.
Go ahead.
I want to take a wager, and Kelly, you gotta have to say too. I'm going to say that Brian eats alone. That's my guess. Kelly,
1,000%.
Yeah.
You are both correct. I love eating alone. I will take a Kindle to a bar or a restaurant, wherever I am, whatever town I'm in, and I will enjoy usually a steak. And if I'm having a drink, I love a good bourbon on the rocks or a stout. And I'll just read whatever book I'm into at that time. And I like it because it does leave you the opportunity to meet people and talk to other people. You never know the type of people that you're going to run into. I mean, Daniel, look at us, man. At 8:30 this morning, I had no idea who you were. Now I'm having a conversation with you, and now we're forever connected on LinkedIn.
Exactly. I love it, man.
I like leaving myself I like leaving myself open to that chance. It's like I kind of think about this when I work. I work from home a lot, but I often think I know what's going to happen if I stay at my apartment. Nothing. I'm not going to meet anyone. If I go to a cafe, I might meet someone. You never know. I may meet a guy who becomes a friend. I met a guy who I'm now like an advisor for his wellness studio that he's opened up. It's like I like leaving it to chance. So yes, I eat alone.
When you're out and about in Tampa, people know you in Tampa. You have relationships with people. Is that one of the ways that you find new prospects as well? Or like have you ever gotten a client from just having a conversation out in life?
I don't, I don't know the answer to that now, but I have to get back to you on that.
Glad I could confuse you.
Out to eat for that purpose, but I also have no problem talking to anyone anywhere. So I'm sure it's happened before and it's just not coming to my mind.
Yeah. Well, we've enjoyed talking to you, Kelly.
Very nice.
Yeah. Brian, you too. This has been a great hour.
Been a lot of fun.
In the middle of our day on a Thursday. So we need to all go out to eat, but eat alone. So we'll go to separate tables.
Yes.
Really, just to prove, how many of
our next podcast together.
Yeah. We could do this. Just Zoom at a bar and we eat by ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We totally need to do that.
Yeah, we need to start a little crew that goes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey, thanks for joining in. Thanks for all the comments. Mandy, good luck on your stuff. And Rodney and Eric and everybody. So see you next week. WInny will be back.
See you guys.
See ya.